Time to catch up on the headlines here in minor league baseball. We've got everything underway except for the complex leagues and a couple starts for pitchers now, starting to get a decent sample size of hitters, getting to like the 40, 50 at bat mark for AAA and getting closer to that in the lower levels. So we're going to catch up here. You got Aram Layton, Jack McMullen, of course, it's the call up and a lot of top names that we're going to talk about, but also some other players mixed in that have been performing. But what's nice about this episode is it's a couple former top names that we haven't been talking about as much that have been performing well. And I do just want to get out in front of it. Peter actually pointed this out on the Just Baseball show when we were doing a little minor league recap. Diamondbacks prospects are raking right now, which is pretty cool. You and I are about to go see the Diamondbacks Big League Club later today. Of course, you're calling the game. I'm going to go cover it, but the minor leagues is raking too a little bit.
Yeah, I saw Gino Groover is really swinging it. Now, it helps when a lot of those guys are in Reno and Amarillo.
Absolutely.
But
even
Troy,
relative to what they normally do or like what they were doing last year.
For sure. I mean, Tommy Troy balling, Jordan Lawlar balling, Gino Groover balling. Like, there are a lot of guys. Tim Tawa was swinging it for, 4 games before he got up?
Slade Caldwell swinging it. Ryan Waldschmidt is swinging it. Like, it's a good time to be the Diamondbacks.
There you go. And I will say they have 4 very hitter-friendly environments with Visalia, with Hillsboro, with Amarillo, and with Reno. But you know what? Like, hey, Chase Field is a pretty hitter-friendly environment as well. So it is cool. I mean, it's a good time to be a D-back. It's a good time to be a Dodger right now, too. A lot of Dodgers are swinging it well, and then it's a good time to be a Sacramento A, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's swinging it well there, too. But there's going to be kind of a good whip around. We'll be going from all the different levels, but we'll start at the big league side of things because one player just called up that we haven't been able to talk about yet, and just poetic what Chase Meidroth was able to do to break up the Garrett Crochet no-hitter. That's just why baseball is so amazing. Then we're going to talk a little Kam Misner as well, why kind of buying what he is selling through 13 games for the Rays.
Yep. Let's start with Meidroth here. And Chase Meidroth has just continued to do what he has done best in the minor leagues, and that's draw walks, not strike out much, and be a pain in the back end for any pitcher that he faces. Meidroth, through 10 plate appearances, has struck out once. He's 3 for 7 with 3 walks. And this comes after this guy was hitting the ball really well, again, in a very hitter-friendly environment in Charlotte. But this guy had 3 homers through 9 games. He had 7 homers all of last year. But what Meidroth does best, a 437 on base. He walked 105 times in 122 games last year. 105 walks to just 71 punch-outs. I think we had a good feeling that he was just going to be the same exact player when he got up to the big leagues. And in a tiny, tiny sample, he's the same exact player that he was in AAA.
Well, multiple poetic aspects of his first series. The first game, just being 1 for 1 with 3 walks.
Yeah.
It's just so on brand. Also, I don't even know if I sent this to you, but did you see the White Sox posted Chase Meidroth getting called up? Not the actual letting him know video, but then there was another video of him at the airport. It was my phone's blowing up or whatever, and it cuts over to his phone, and it's the call up tweet.
Yeah, it was also funny. They caught the call-up tweet early. It was 200 views.
I was like, what?
It was 2 likes, no retweets. Phone's blowing up.
Phone's blowing up.
There we go.
Not this tweet yet. But that was really cool. But beyond that, first game, you work the 3 walks. That's what you do. But then to see the other 2 games where he also got to start at shortstop and held his own, but that no-hitter threw 7 and whatever for Garrett Crochet, who
third,
he was traded for, right? He was a part of that package. Crochet looked like, I think if he didn't run into Meidroth, he may have thrown that no-hitter. But what was so amazing is that's probably the one guy I don't want to face if I'm throwing a no-hitter because he's not going to expand. And if you put it in the zone, he's not going to whiff. You're just going to have to hope that he hits it at somebody or doesn't hit it hard. But the pitch that Meidroth hit was a great pitch. It was 89-mile-an-hour cutter, or 90-mile-an-hour cutter, down and in, 1-2. It wasn't a strike even. It was a good chase pitch to tie him up. And if you see, Meidroth couldn't even finish his swing because he was so tied up. It was like a check swing, essentially, like a 3/4 swing. But that's what makes him so good because in Major League Baseball nowadays, most guys, if they try to do that, they're just not going to be able to square the ball up. But
right.
If you have 80 grade hand-eye coordination, you don't need to take these mega swings with two strikes or just mega swings in general. The ball's coming in 90, even if it's a breaking ball at this point. Get the barrel to it, and you can sneak it through. And in a game where everybody was looking completely overmatched and you're not going to get very comfortable swings off, that's just an example of how he's just able to manufacture hits in so many different ways.
I was going to say, I feel like the best quality that a hitter can possess in like this iteration of Major League Baseball in 2025 is barrel control. Like wherever the ball is, if you can meet it with the barrel, good things are going to happen. And the number of missed swings that we've seen, like B swings that are still getting out for power bats, like give me a quote unquote power bat that can find the barrel on pretty much any pitch over the guy that is going to send an A swing 500 feet. Like, I understand that bat speed is really important, and I understand that Savant just started measuring it and made it publicly available. But at the end of the day, bat speed's a moot point if you're not squaring things up. And Meidroth has this like knack for guiding the barrel exactly where it needs to be, and also not firing the barrel when it doesn't need to be
Yeah,
fired.
that's
This
the
guy
big thing.
has this amazing, amazing funnel process that just happens in real time, and it's 70 grade plate discipline. I mean, it would be hard to slap an 80 on plate discipline because
Yeah,
it's the real
I'm
thing
waiting
that
for
you're
the
grading.
I'm waiting for the day that that happens. It might be Emmanuel Rodriguez if he plays
I
enough
mean,
games in AAA.
dude, Kaba's walked 11
Yeah,
times in
Kaba,
low.
Kaba,
Like,
if Kaba
Kaba
keeps
might be that
doing this,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
if Kaba keeps doing this at every level, he might be the first 80 plate discipline guy. But no, I mean, when you've got 70 hit and 70 plate discipline, you're gonna be a big leaguer. It's funny. I saw a meme. I forget what it like. Our guy Brandon Anderson put it out, I believe, who does our graphics and does an incredible job. He's a White Sox fan, but it was something along the lines of like, we what we thought we were gonna have with Madrigal, and now we have it with Chase Meidroth. Like it really is everything that I think people thought Nick Madrigal would be. And I think he's going to be able to carry that expectation. The game has changed to where that type of player is not a top five pick, but it's still a really good player. And we've seen it kind of circle back here. And to mention just the finding the barrel, and even if it's not your A swing, whatever it may be, he does have decent enough bat speed, I think, to surprise and sneak out maybe 10 homers in a good year. But you don't need, what did they tell us when we were kids, right? Like the harder it comes in, the harder it goes out, right? You don't need to
Yeah.
swing harder to hit it. With guys like that, like nowadays, velocity's never been higher. It's continuing to get higher and higher and higher. And every tick that a fastball goes up is less work that a hitter has to do to send it back the other direction pretty hard. Like that 3/4 swing from Mydroth was a 91 mile per hour exit velo. That's more than
Yeah.
enough. It's almost a
Yeah.
hard hit. So that's something to me that I think is really interesting and seems like to be something that he mastered. And what I'm interested in to just watch and identify and see is the defense at short. If it can be anywhere near passable, I mean, this is a really solid player.
No doubt, man. And even if it's like above average defense at second base, I
Mhm.
think it's a pretty good player as well. And there's nobody that's really in the way of Meidroth finding an everyday role with the White Sox. I'm stunned that it didn't happen starting on opening day, but all it took was a 2-10 start to get him up there in an 8 game losing streak right away.
Yeah, and I think the spring training, people were citing that. And like, I get it wasn't a great spring training, but it was probably a good thing. That was probably the first adversity he's ever faced as a hitter because hitting has been so easy for him. It seems like at every level. Recalibrate a little bit, got off to a great start in Charlotte, where he actually was, yes, you mentioned hitter friendly environment, but he was getting into some balls. He hit a homer 105, 393 feet. He hit another one 400 feet off of Roansy Contreras. Like he was getting into him a little bit to the pull side here and there too. So it was cool to see that confidence though in those advantage counts. Yeah, then let it eat a little bit more if you're capable. And it seems like he's got a little bit of that in him too.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, you want to get to a guy who is actually the exact opposite of the
Yeah.
conversation we just had? Kameron Misner of the Tampa Bay Rays, maybe arrived? Question mark. 14 games so far in a Rays uniform this year. This guy's hitting 400. He's 16 for 40 with 4 doubles, a triple, and 3 homers. The big number that jumps out, and this guy was a 2020 guy in Durham in 2023. Last year, 17 homers, 30 for 33 in the stolen base department. We were jumping for joy when this guy got the K rate down to 29.5%
Yeah.
last year. This guy has struck out 7 times in 45 plate appearances. That's a 15% K rate. Why is this a different Kameron Misner this year?
This might be one of the more dramatic swing adjustments I've seen in a long time. And I mean, it's a small sample size here, but when you're talking about the big leagues, if you're a guy that had 74% in zone contact rate in AAA, and then in a 13 game sample, you've got a 92% in zone contact rate in the big leagues, that's not going to happen by accident. There has to be some sort of tangible shift there. And if you just compare, so I'm going to make a thread on this. We talked about it. Like if I have enough time in the, and I'm sure I will, because media availability is at like 2:30, games at like
Yeah.
6:40. So I'll have some time in the press box to do this. I think I'm going to get it out tonight. Like his hands used to really move a ton and out over the plate. And it was just a ridiculous amount of movement that was almost, it just seems so hard to time up and then get to your slot. And like, I feel like pitchers could see that and disrupt his timing pretty easily. Now he has an upright setup. His hands are really close to his slot and they don't really move at all. So he went from like some of the noisier hands that you're going to see to not moving them at all. You might say like, oh, well, why doesn't everyone just do that? That's swinging and missing a lot. There's a lot of hitters who you've done something your whole life. If you try to stagnate your hands, you'll be stiff, you'll lose whip, you become very uncomfortable, you might get stuck in swing mode. Like there's just got you can't rewire that too much sometimes. Like it can just be too hard for guys. What's really slept on with Misner, he's a phenomenal athlete. And
Yeah.
he's a lot more adjustable and athletic, I think, than people may think. So he's playing center field for them, by the way. But he can move. You mentioned he's 2020 last year. He's 6'4", 225. He can motor. So I think there was a little bit more malleability for him. He was able to make this adjustment, rewire himself a little bit more, and it's making all the difference in the world. I think the fact that he was able to hit, like survive in AAA the way he was hitting before, was a testament to the athleticism. And now he was able to simplify things enough to, I think, find the barrel really consistently and not have it affect him in terms of like some guys, maybe it would affect your path, maybe it would affect your timing.
Yeah.
It didn't. So I'm really excited about this and like I'm buying it. I mean, if you're looking for depth in like a dynasty league or just a fantasy league in general, I think picking up Kameron Misner is actually worth it.
So what does like how sustainable is this? I understand like a swing adjustment if you see the early returns, obviously he's not going to hit 400 for the entire year, but the K rate being sub 20%. I'm not asking him to stay at 20% or at 15% because this was a guy that in the minor leagues has been at a 30%
Yeah.
strikeout rate. Where do you feel like he settles? Obviously, he's going to get into his power because he's a big physical person. Obviously, when he gets to first base, he's a threat to steal second base. And obviously, he's going to play an okay center field at the major league level. Where do you feel like the K rate settles? Where do you feel like the overall contact rate settle?
Yeah, I mean, if he's running a 90% in zone contact rate the entirety of the year, I think he's an all-star and then some. So probably not happening. But I think pitchers will make some adjustments. But the biggest thing that I notice is like change-ups, and you think about again, all that movement, that's going to be the pitch that really throws you off. And he was putrid against change-ups last year. OPS sub 600, huge whiff rates, in zone contact rate of like I think it was like 67% against
Yeah.
changeups. So that drastically changing tells me that this could be pretty sustainable in terms of just being able to mitigate the swing and miss. But I'm sure there's going to be some pitchers that start to make these adjustments and scouting reports on him that there's going to be a new blue zone, I'm sure. But you got to kind of
Mhm.
rewire that and try to figure out what that is. I think he probably settles at the low 20s. And it's going to be more of a question of how much is he walking and how often is he getting into that game power. But he's got a 90th percentile of 106 so far this year. He has 3 homers. 2 of them came the other day, but he also has a triple and 4 doubles. So I think if he's settling anywhere south of 25%, which I do think he will, like he's going to be a really solid everyday player for them in the outfield.
No doubt, man. All right, let's go to Zyhir Hope here for the LA Dodgers. And this is a guy that is clear cut a top 20 prospect in baseball. You've got him in the top 10. Zyhir Hope at this point, high A Great Lakes. So far this year, hitting 400, OPSing 1202 in 9 games. He's 14 for 35 with 3 doubles, a triple, and 2 homers. He's driven in 13 runs in 9 games. He's coming off of a 4 hit day on Sunday. Your expectations for him were sky high.
Mhm.
They weren't 1202 OPS through 9 games high.
No.
How is he exceeding expectations to this point?
I think the fact that the swing decisions are still so comfortable for him. I was a little nervous that maybe he'd expand a little bit. He's also swiped 4 bags.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that's the big way that he has made a clear like standout hot start for me is like he's not expanding, he's walking. Yeah, there's some swing and miss, and like I think that's gonna come with the territory a little bit. But remember, he missed a good portion of last year, so he didn't play a ton in his age 19 season, which was his first full pro season, and he's getting the push right to high A. So this is a pretty big adjustment for a lot of hitters, and for him to really not have that extreme learning curve in the early going is really what stood out to me. And I would say it's the consistency. I knew he'd get his, right? Like he hit a home
Right.
home run 113. That didn't shock me a week ago. Or I mean, it was like, wow, there he goes again. But I thought we'd see the 113s, then we'd see the 0 for 5 with 3 punchies sometimes too, because he's a young hitter with some swing and miss. Yes, he's swinging and missing, but he's still getting his. So that's the thing to me is like you're seeing consistency, 3 hit day, 2 hit day, 2 hit day, 4 hit day, where he's going to just consistently put together good at bats. And I think he's just doing that a little bit more quickly than I thought. I thought maybe there'd be kind of a get your feet wet period in high A, and it seems like his feet are already wet.
Yeah, it is crazy, man. And like we talked about it, Zyhir Hope and DePaulo on the same roster right now is as exciting as it gets at the high A level. But there is a guy in AAA right now for them. Alex Freeland is kicking ass at the moment. Alex Freeland, 7 of his last 9 games, he's collected multiple base hits. He's got three-hit days in his last 9 games. And just looking at the game log, 2 for 5 on April 4th. On April 5th, 3 for 4. 2 for 5, 3 for 5, 2 for 3, 2 for 4. Had an 0 for 5 day, but then 3 for 6 right after that. This guy on the year is hitting 344 with a 906 OPS. He's driven in 17 in 15 games, and he's 5 for 6 in the stolen base department. Is he? I mean, obviously there are some other AAA guys that are jumping out. Like I think Bubba Chandler at this point is probably the best, like most advanced pitcher in the minor leagues. Freeland has to be on the very short list for most advanced hitter in the minor leagues.
He's up there for sure. I think like sliders have given him some minor fits in the early going this year, but then he just pulverizes everything else and doesn't chase anything else. He's hitting the ball harder than he ever has. He plays a good shortstop. Like that's the other thing too. We're talking about a switch hitter who plays a good shortstop, gives you value on the base paths, gives you good at bats, and is hitting the ball harder than ever. Like that guy has nothing really left to prove in AAA. Yeah, I would venture to say he's as advanced as just about any player. I think you could put rushing right there too, which
Sure,
is
yeah.
which is kind of annoying because I think people are tired of hearing about that with the Dodgers, but also just the fact that they have 2 guys that are very blocked. What's interesting is the last 2 games, Freeland's played third base,
Hmm.
and I look back at last year. I don't think he played third base more than a couple times, and that was early in the season. After like once May came around, he played shortstop every single game because they wanted him to continue to develop there.
Yeah.
And now we've got him playing. He's already played third base 4 times, and he's played it in the last, or excuse me, 5 times, and he's played it in the last 2 ball games. You were talking about Max Muncy struggling and things like that. I just wonder if they were trying to get him reps at different spots so that when he does get up there, he's plugging in maybe in different ways. This is a guy that I actually can see getting run at the big league level more easily than a Dalton Rushing at this point.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
instead of trying to put your catcher in left field, you can put your switch hitting shortstop anywhere in the infield.
Yeah, I mean, there's some more malleability to his game than Dalton Rushing. And oh, by the way, Max Muncy, just checking on him through 16 games of 517 OPS and 25 punchouts and 52 at bats. Like again, like he frustrates the crap out of me. It's the Blake Snell thing, but hitting. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he is kind of the Blake
that's
Snell
awesome
hitter.
that you see a bunch of pitches. That's sick. What are you
Yeah.
going to do with them? And then he just happens to clip, I mean, 25 in a given year. He had 36 homers in 2023. I'm being a little harsh, but like at 852 OPS last year, it just wasn't a fun 852 OPS to watch. And it's not enjoyable for me. Enjoyable and good are two different things,
Yeah.
obviously. Muncy, they're going to give him all the time in the world to get good, but if he struggles, and they need him to sit a couple days a week, Freeland could be that guy. Miguel Rojas at this point is probably making headlines for doing impressions of his pitchers when he's throwing in a blowout game.
Yeah,
I understand that he was effective last year, but like there are at bats to be had from Alex Freeland.
100%. And I think he adds a dynamic to that lineup that would make it really fun. Sure, there might be a learning curve there, but you might as well start that now because later in the season, I mean, this is a guy that's going to give you some speed on the base paths that you can always use. And like, think about Tommy Edman. I'm not comparing him to Tommy Edman, but it's Tommy Edman hitting home runs is a huge wrinkle now. But just thinking about what he did last year for them, he added a level of like a dynamic aspect to this team that I wouldn't say it was lacking because they have Hall of Famers, but in terms of just the speed and slapping the ball around the yard a little bit and then picking it and just being a premium defender at multiple spots, like I felt like if you could poke one hole, that was kind of something that they needed. And I feel like he's been a huge glue guy for them. And I feel like Freeland can be another really solid glue guy for them. For a lot of other teams, he'd be a huge building block. But
for sure.
And that could be the case too in trade talks. The thing is it sounds weird. Dalton Rushing's a top 10 prospect. I obviously would rather hold the top 10 prospect, but if all things were equal, like if I was trading with a team and they valued them equally, let's say they hated Dalton Rushing and they valued Freeland and Rushing the same way, and I had to trade with this team, I would rather have Freeland if I'm building the Dodgers because he fits the future a little bit more. Mookie's aging, things like that. Whereas Rushing's blocked for the next decade. I do wonder if Freeland's going to get that look first.
I would assume so, and I would assume that look comes actually pretty soon.
Wouldn't shock me.
Let's go to another team in the National League West. The Arizona Diamondbacks, like you mentioned, everybody is hitting. Want to focus on two guys, two first-round picks. First one is Jordan Lawlar, and Lawlar has obviously been limited over the last bit. He played in 14 games with Arizona in 2023. Then last year he was limited to 23 games. He was dealing with injuries for pretty much the entirety of the year. Then he goes to the Dominican Winter League, plays okay. Then comes out in Reno, 15 games. He's hitting 5 points under 300 with an 895 OPS. He's got 6 doubles, 2 homers, and 11 driven in. He's striking out a lot, which is interesting to me. But this guy does look big league ready. The question is there a big league spot? Answer right now is no, there isn't.
Yeah, right now is no. So it's interesting because I go back and forth. Part of me is like, okay, this guy could be one of the best trade chips available. The other part of me is saying, well, who's going to play third after Gino Suarez probably leaves for free agency after this year?
Lawlar.
Seems like Lawlar. We were talking about like casting Perdomo aside for the last couple of years, and that's why you take the bird in hand, right? Perdomo's gotten extended, and he's been really damn good. So sometimes it's a reminder that the grass isn't always greener. But that said, Lawlar is still just 22 years old, and a left side of the infield of Perdomo and Lawlar could be elite defensively, yet may lack a little bit of power compared to some other left side of the infields. Doesn't matter for the D-backs. You got power everywhere else. So I actually really like that idea of things. And for Lawlar, he can almost take a breath here. And he knows that if someone goes down, he's the next man up. But you're not pressing to try to force your way to the big leagues. I'm sure he'd love to be there. But just go develop. Finally get some more ABs under your belt because you've been so banged up. Go hit on the moon, but develop in terms of just putting together good at-bats, getting the ball in the air, which was something that kind of went to the wayside a little bit over the last year or two. And it's pretty easy to incentivize a guy to put the ball in the air when he's playing his home games in Reno, right? So just get more comfortable at elevating and then maybe play a little bit more third base in preparation there. And that's what they've been doing. Like, he hasn't been playing shortstop, which is funny because he's a plus defender there, or at least above average. But there's no need to.
Perdomo's a great shortstop defensively.
Sorry?
Perdomo's a great shortstop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you got Lawlar very good, Perdomo great, and Perdomo was extended.
Exactly. To me, that's kind of, they're tipping their hand here of, hey, this guy isn't a trade piece. This is a building block for us, and he just may have to wait a year. He's playing second, he's playing third. And I think that's where they're going to want him, playing a lot, especially Marte's out. He's gets hurt quite often. Like
Marte can DH a good bit.
Yeah. And I think that's probably going to be part of the plan.
Geraldo Perdomo, by the way, 69 plate appearances. He's walked 13 times. He struck out twice in 69 plate appearances. Perdomo at this point a 938 OPS through 16 games. But let's go to Tommy Troy here. Tommy Troy is the other first round pick that we want to talk about. And Troy off to a really hot start so far with Double-A Amarillo, hitting 406 in 9 games. That's 13 for 32. He's already walked 12 times in 9 games. He's got 4 doubles and a homer. He's K'd just 8 times in 46 plate appearances. Tommy Troy had an underwhelming year last year, an OPS firmly under 700, for the most part with High A Hillsboro. Obviously, he was dealing with some injury. He went to Salt River in the Fall League. He was good, but I think we expected him to be good because he's more advanced than pretty much every hitter out there in the Arizona Fall League. This has been a sight to behold in Double-A so far.
Oh, you got to be thrilled, I think, if you're a Diamondbacks fan, just because you know the talent of this guy. And there was a lot of frustration last year, and we talked about it when we went over the Diamondback system. Like, there were some pretty glaring issues offensively, and I think he's done a pretty good job of satisfying some of those things to try to find the barrel more consistently. I still have some concern. Like, I'm definitely buying the Lawlar hot start a little bit more than the Tommy Troy hot start. But man, if you told me, or if you told Diamondbacks fans, like, we're going to be picking between which of the hot starts to the 2025 season we're buying more between your 2 former first rounders, like, that's a great problem to have. The swing decisions have been great, but if you remember the Diamondbacks episode when we were talking about it, I was mentioning how he drops his hands and the barrel gets really vertical, and then when you do that, think about how hard it is to get back on plane. Where in your load, you drop your hands, the barrel gets very vertical, then you got to turn the barrel all the way back around and get it on plane. It seemed like something that was really, really hard to do. A lot easier to do against college stuff, maybe even low A stuff. When stuff's hard and running in on you or breaking away from you, really hard to stay in the zone with that. He's flattened the barrel out when he gets to a slot now. It seems a lot smoother, and he's spraying the ball all over the yard. So I think that's really encouraging, and I like to just see that adjustment being made there. And he's 23 years old for the entirety of the season. He's got plenty of time. And I will say this guy may be a good trade chip, though. Like, Lawlar's not going anywhere. Troy's a second baseman at this point, too. Like, he's probably the guy that may go. But this is a team that has World Series aspirations, and you don't want to trade Chrysanthus. Troy could end up playing his way into, a better opportunity somewhere else where he's a little less blocked, too.
Absolutely. And you can go grab bullpen help. I mean, like, what they've gotten in the bullpen so far has been really nice, but obviously you want more irons in the fire than just Martinez and Puck and whoever else you may be throwing out there. Like, I think Ginkel's been pretty good this year, right? And then, what is it? Shelby Miller that's throwing his ass off for them?
Shelby Miller, yeah, dude, he's got a good heater. It's like, how long does it last, kind of thing. But I'm total, like, aside here. It's just been cool to see, like, Shelby Miller still in the game at 34 years old. Would you have ever thought he'd last this long?
No. Also, Shelby Miller, who, yes, six no-hit innings. He has walked one, but Shelby Miller, who was acquired by Arizona for Dansby Swanson, too. So it's nice to see all of this come full circle. But, like, Jalen Beek's been really good out of their bullpen. Martinez obviously been gross, but, like, A.J. Puck been good. Bryce Jarvis been all right for them. They have a good bullpen right now, but it's not a bullpen full of established stars. Tommy Troy for a setup type makes a lot of sense at some point.
Especially when it's still somehow the third best bullpen in your division.
Yeah, right.
Which is great. And that's more of a credit to the to the NL West, but, like, you got to try to match those guys. But
I think you could argue the fourth best too. That Giant bullpen is really good right now.
Yeah. That division is just nuts. That's a big reason why I'm so excited to go cover this series. But yeah, I think you got to be pumped with what Troy's doing, and you don't want to trade your recently drafted guys. Like, I do think this could be one of the better available players potentially if he keeps this up.
Yep. All right, we're going to get to a name that everybody's talking about in minor league baseball in a moment. But before that, quick break. All right, the guy that everybody is talking about is Jac Caglianone. And Caglianone, to this point, through 9 games, has 3 homers, 2 doubles. He's driven in 14 in 9 games, and he's got a 935 OPS. This is what it looks like when the K rate's okay. Like 10 punch-outs and 45 plate appearances. That's a low 20% strikeout rate. This guy, man, like, I mean, this is, I think, the best version of Caglianone. You're obviously not going to get the spring training output where he had, more homers than strikeouts in big league spring training. But, you can get this where he's striking out at a low 20% clip, but he is just killing baseballs every other day, it seems.
And it's funny. we're talking about it. Like the field to hit is good enough to where he can get away with a slightly elevated chase. He's still chasing. It's just not egregious. 31% chase rate. That that's fine. Like we just wanted to see it get down from 40. Now, I do think at the highest level it will be beneficial to continue to cut that down. But just to see, I really think that this is the result of as long as he's not chasing at 40%, he's going to demolish the minor leagues. Then we'll see, can you get away with a 30% chase rate at the big league level? The thing is we talk about doing damage on B swings and stuff. This guy will hit homers on bad swing decisions. There's not a lot of players that are going to do that, right? Like if you look at he hit a single 110 that I believe I'm trying to get the exact measurement here. It looks like it was about 6 balls up off the plate. So like he has this barrel maneuverability that you just shouldn't have with 80 grade power. So he's going to get away with those elevated chase rates. So if it's just around 30%, he's going to be in a pretty good spot. But what I like is it's all fields. He went backside 110. He's pulled a ball, what was it, like 116 for a homer. And then there was the one batted ball that was kind of heard around the world, right? That was that 121. And there was some conversation of like, could that have been a misread? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe. I honestly lean towards it not being a misread. Because it was a low like launch angle too. From my experience, I'm no TrackMan or Hawkeye expert, but just like anecdotal.
Well, I think Peter once said on the Just Baseball show that his eyes are TrackMan.
His eyes are TrackMan. Yeah. It's Peter vision. Yeah. When it goes straight into the ground, those generally will give you misreads, right? Like where it's just like straight into home plate. So it'll be like 125 miles per hour at negative 46-degree launch. This was a 2-degree launch angle. So like anytime there's a positive launch angle, I don't really see misreads nearly as much. And also like the fact that this is even remotely believable is a testament to the power, right? Like there was a TrackMan read on Zach Veen, which would have been believable for you, I know. But like last year, it said like 126 mile per hour homer. I think I sent it to you as a joke.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's not a homer. But even like for some other guys, I've seen some like 119s and their max before that was like 111. So it's like, okay, that's not happening. We've seen Cags put up 120 with metal, and we've seen him put up 118 with wood. This wouldn't shock me. So it is interesting. It was also a ball down that he hit that hard. So it's just amazing to see what he can do. And I mean, this is the easiest 80 grade power I've been able to give out since I've done this, which is really cool. Like I didn't even use 80s give me anxiety. Like every time I put out an 80, I'm like anxious about it. Didn't even blink giving this guy an 80. And it's funny, like people joke about Chandler Simpson, like scouts always say he's the first 90 runner. Like in terms of raw power, Cags is the first guy where I'm like, is 80 even enough? Like we haven't really seen raw power like this.
Interesting. You haven't even seen it from like an O'Neill Cruz type.
I guess O'Neill. The difference with O'Neill is just like it was so inconsistent. But yeah, I would say it's O'Neill. But O'Neill also wasn't getting into it in games the same way. But to your point, that's a proper rebuttal because he did hit balls 120. So yeah,
like I would say he had an 120.5 mile an hour single in AAA.
Yeah, exactly. The difference. So I guess it would be the better answer would be game power potential. Like because with O'Neill, I was never putting 80 future game power. It just was never even in the most optimistic. It was never going to happen. He put the ball on the ground too much. It just the odds of him trimming that ground ball rate from 50+% and improving in the secondary whiff was very slim. Ellie De La Cruz was probably closer to that, but even then, like I don't know if you're fully looking at it in terms of game power. As long as I've been doing this, like I haven't seen a guy that's this easily top of the scale potential for game power.
Got you. Okay. A couple more hitters real quick before we wrap with some pitchers. Chase Davis in the Cardinals organization. Chase Davis is a guy that started his pro career very, very slowly after being a breakout in 23 at the University of Arizona. But it was a 636 OPS in 34 games in 23. Last year, it started to look better at the end, but he started slow in Palm Beach. He looked really good in Peoria, and then he finished the year in Springfield. This year with Double-A Springfield, 9 games, 2 doubles, 2 homers. He's driven in 8. He's walked 9 times. He's hitting .324 with a 1037 OPS. Is he officially Carlos Gonzalez or no? Is he Cargo?
um,
Come on. The
it,
swing is perfect.
it,
Yeah.
it looks just like it. Um, it's funny, and this is why it's so tough. Like, and this is why I love watching video. I watched this guy on the backfields before I caught up with you at one of the games during spring training, and he looked horrible. Like it was blatantly overmatched. Yes, it's the backfield. It's the season hasn't even started yet, but I was like, oh gosh, I hope he shores things up a little bit, before the season starts, and then goes crazy, right at the start of the season. That's why, like, as much as it is nice to get these live looks and stuff, and there's a lot that you can get away, like, take away from them. There's even more value to being able to watch 13 games on video and see every single AB, because instead of overweighing the handful of ABs I saw in person, I'm looking at the 46 plate appearances I've seen so far this year of him, and watching them, he is on time and ready for the heater. I think he knows it. Look, he's got the big leg kick, he's got the cargo operation. He's gonna whiff on breaking balls, but he's
Yeah.
recognizing them better than ever. And I think his way is, okay, I'm gonna have a really, really good approach. I'm not gonna miss a fastball, and I'm not gonna miss hangers. If you draw walks like that and you don't miss your pitches to hit, it can be extremely successful, especially if you can stick up the middle in center field, right? So I feel like instead of trying to hit everything, Davis at now age 23, trying to succeed in the upper levels and get to the bigs, it's okay, what am I good at hitting at? What am I bad at hitting at? How do I lean into the good and how do I hedge the bad? And so far, what I'm seeing this year is exactly that, where he hasn't swung and missed at a four seamer in the zone, but he also is not chasing secondaries at all. His chase rate's down to 16%. And that's why I don't think it's a coincidence that he's walked 9 times and struck out 10 times. Like, he's going deeper into counts, and he's comfortable doing that. So I think it's really encouraging what we've seen out of the gate so far. He's not going to be a superstar. I think he's limited to be able to do that.
Sure.
But I think he's found the way to be a successful version of himself throughout, like, his capabilities, which could still be an above average everyday player.
And it's funny, like we went into this year with St. Louis thinking, oh, this year's going to suck. Like top to bottom, this year's going to be really underwhelming and disappointing for St. Louis Cardinals fans. The big league team is playing a little bit better than I think many were anticipating. And then you have these guys at the affiliates too playing a little bit better. And like there's something to watch in Double A with Weatherholt and Chase Davis. And there's something to watch in Triple A. Like there's intrigue in the Cardinals organization right now.
This wasn't on the rundown, but you just like sparked a thought in my brain, because we were talking about this in the Discord last night, which, by the way, link in the episode description. Would love for you guys to join. We did a live prospect Q&A in the Discord yesterday. It was a lot of fun. And I'm in there every night, every day, answering prospect questions, talking ball with everybody. And there was a conversation about Weatherholt, because he had started 0 for 14
Yeah.
this year. And I'm like, I wouldn't be too worried about it. He looked phenomenal on the backfield, by the way.
There you
and
go.
it really stood out. But I'm like, that's not a guy I'm going to get worried about that early. And then we were talking about it, literally checking back in yesterday. He's 10 for his last 18.
There you go.
And he's spraying it all over the yard. Last 4 games, 3 hits, 3 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits. I mean, he's such a freaking good hitter. And what I like about him is, like, I guarantee he wasn't even pressing at all starting 0 for 14. He made the leap from low A all the way to double A, right? No high A for him. Gets his feet wet, and now just immediately going nuclear. It's been cool to watch. And I mean, also in that 4-game stretch, he struck out just once. So even when he was slumping, wasn't striking out, I think it's got to be incredibly encouraging to just see him flip a switch like that quickly. For a lot of young guys, I think you struggle at the upper levels, can start to compound on you. Weatherholt's different. I don't think that's going to be an issue for him.
Yep, and you got intrigue in Double A with Davis and with Weatherholt. One more hitter that we got to talk about is in the Marlins system, actually. Joe Mack was just named the Southern League Player of the Week. Joe Mack, dude, like last year, he was one of the more underappreciated prospects in Major League Baseball. And, we've talked about him, like 22 homers and a 778 OPS in Pensacola last year. Southern League was so far and away the hardest place to hit in minor league baseball. That OPS was about 110 points higher than the league average OPS in the Southern League at 778. And so far this year, this guy is 8 for 23. That's 348 through 7 games with 2 doubles, 2 homers, 4 driven in. He's only K'd 6 times in 29 plate appearances. 7 games, tiny sample, and 1179 OPS. And base runners against him are 5 for 9 so far this year. He's a really good defensive catcher. He's got the power. He's like, I mean, is he a top 10 catching prospect in minor league baseball?
He's got to be damn close because he's really close to the top 100. The only thing is the top 100 has so many catchers. We're talking about just like the catcher renaissance in minor league baseball right now. But he's a top 10 defender, no doubt about it. And then you think about the power that he's got now, like he's probably right there. He's going to be in the top 100 update most likely. And it's funny. If you could combine him and Agustin Ramirez, I think you'd have one of the best catchers in
Yeah,
baseball.
I mean, you'd have an MVP. You'd have like
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman pretty much. So like, okay, Basayo, Rushing are ahead of him. Jefferson Caro is ahead of him. Baldwin ahead of him. Teal, Blake Mitchell, Ethan Salas. But then you get into this. Edgar Caro is better than him, so we're at 9 now. Like he's got to be kind of close to
I,
Ballesteros at this point.
it's interesting too, man. Like you talk about Blake Mitchell, like he is kind of Blake Mitchell in terms of what you're hoping Blake Mitchell will
Yeah,
be. The difference is Blake Mitchell has more upside because it's like he's got a 70 arm, which Mack has a rocket too, but it's more the power upside where,
yeah.
yeah, Mack's hitting the ball hard and hitting homers, but like Blake Mitchell could be Cal Raleigh if it all
Yeah,
works out.
sure. So, okay, for the sake of this exercise, can I just ask you, and like we'll sit in silence because I know what the answer is going to be? Joe Mack or Harry Ford, if you're a GM, who would you rather have?
Joe Mack very easily. Joe Mack very easily. And I will
Okay,
say,
so
like,
like,
to your point though, like if Blake Mitchell stalls out through the first half of this year, Joe Mack's not 24. He's 22 for the whole season.
yeah,
So I think Joe Mack could easily, when you read that clump of guys of Salas, Mitchell, like I think Mack is about a good month or two away from being in that conversation with those guys. It's just
there you go.
the one thing for me is the secondary, like the breaking ball swing and miss. But again, if this
Yeah,
guy's a 35 grade hitter, he's gonna be a 3-win catcher because the power is above average, the approach has gotten so much better, and the defense is fantastic. So it's interesting. You almost have this like log jam, like from AAA to AA now, where because it's like Mac is like too good for double.
hmm,
Augustine's knocking on the door of the big leagues, but I understand wanting to take your time with him developmentally for the defensive side of things. And the Marlins are pretty damn good right now. And you imagine if they had, especially with Fortes hurt, like I'm watching Rob Brantley play, like it was just
yeah,
awesome, great guy. Like he was the last time he played for the Marlins, I was a sophomore in high school. It,
yeah.
they have this logjam here that is really interesting where it's like, does Mac put more pressure on the Marlins to aggressively push Augustine? Probably not, but like
But
subconsciously,
Augustine's putting pressure on them. Augustine's
yeah,
OPSing 850. He's
it's
great.
but he's almost helping Augustine now too. Like he's a wind at Augustine's back. Like they're both
Yeah.
pushing up to the big league level because it's like, how much longer do you need to have Joe Mack sitting in Double A?
Yeah, I know. I totally hear you on that. It is a great problem to
Great
have. It's
problem.
like trouble in paradise right now in Miami, and
Well, and
Miami really is paradise.
we talked about it on the Discord too. Like a Marlins fan jumped in there in the live stream yesterday and was asking me like, how do they maneuver this situation? I was like saying like, the catching tandems that we always talk about at the big league level, how there's a lot of potential for that for a lot of different teams, like with
Yeah.
Adley and Basayo and things like that. And when you've got one great defender and one guy that's a really, really good hitter, and they're both really talented in multiple aspects, but
Yeah.
it's the perfect tandem where Max catching a few more days a week, Augustine's still catching a couple days a week, and then could be playing first or whatever. Like it does work quite well. But it was funny. It's like as long as I've been following the Marlins, like I can't remember a time where it's ever been, how do we organize these catchers? It's always just where do we find a catcher? So I think for Marlins fans, they got to be excited about this conversation.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, catching tandems, like you look at Augustine and Mack right now, I think it's up there with Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro in
Yep.
Chicago. It's not with Adley and Basayo, obviously, and
No,
it's
that's
not with
just that's
William.
otherworldly.
It's otherworldly, and then William Contreras and Jefferson Caro is otherworldly as well. But it's in that next tier of like Teal and Caro, where we're talking about this tandem being the shining star within a lineup, and
Henry
it's
Davis
really
and
cool.
Joey Bart.
Yeah, with Endy hitting. Is he going on the IL? I saw
I
he got
hope not.
stitches on his index finger.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, Henry Davis and Joey Bart, another great one there. Who's the backup catcher in Toronto? It was Kirk and Gabby, and then it was Kirk and Jansen, and now it's like, all right, somebody else. So Yeah, there are some options. But let's pivot to the pitchers right now. Bubba Chandler, I mentioned, like, looks more advanced than pretty much any pitcher in minor league baseball right now, and he's just killing. He looked human. He allowed his first 2 runs last time out against Louisville. He did the old Tuesday, Sunday start in Louisville. But Bubba on the year, 10 and 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 walks, and 18 strikeouts. This guy has thrown 165 pitches, 107 of which for strikes. That's a 65% strike rate among all offerings. It's just insane what this guy's doing, and it seems like Pittsburgh needs to make this move like now.
They're kind of like skeensing him a little bit, right? Where it's 50 pitch out, like 50 to 60 pitch outings here early in the early going. Like, you think they're pacing his innings a little bit?
I think so. I think they're kind of dialing it up right now, so we would see him available by the end of the year. It makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Like, that's
Yeah,
what Philly's doing with Painter, where they're
yeah.
limiting him out of the gate, and then he's going to be no holds barred at the end of the year.
No, it'd be good for the Pirates push to 60 wins at the end of the season. But um
Boo.
no, what's interesting is I think he knows that he's only going out there for 50 pitches. So you're
And
seeing
he's
him
just
like cut
emptying the
loose.
tank. Yeah.
And he's throwing 102.
Yeah.
It was 101.7. I had to double check it and then triple check it because I'm like, maybe it was a hot gun. No, no, that wasn't a hot gun. 101.7 from this dude. If he's throwing 101 with his life on that fastball and the release characteristics, that's gonna absolutely obliterate. Like, he made the joke about like Paul Skeens, like, enjoy opening day, it's your last one or whatever. If he was consistently there, like, it would actually be a conversation. Of course, being stretched out is gonna be more 90, 97, 98. But I think the fact that he's touching that and he hadn't before is just, you're seeing him build up and you're seeing him, I think, get stronger and learn his body more and just learn how he can throw most effectively. And then you've got the cutter, the changeup as well. Like, this is a really well-rounded arsenal all of a sudden. Like, this is a guy that at the beginning, this time last year, I was complaining to you about his fastball usage. Saying this guy's throwing it 70% of the time. Through the early going this year, it's 53% fastball, it's 30% slider, that cutterish slider, that's just gross. And then a changeup at 15% and a taste-breaking curveball that he's mixed in a couple times. Like, that is totally different from what we saw last year. And it's better. The fastball's better than it was at the early going last year too, and he's throwing it less, which is good.
Yeah.
This is a ridiculous pitch mix, and like, it's exciting because like this is a more complete. We were talking about like maybe it's Jared Jones-ish. It's a much more complete arsenal now too. That trio of arms could terrorize Major League Baseball for a while, assuming Jones can come back healthy.
And Keller is the 4, man. Like, I mean, again, I don't fall in love with Keller every spring, but it's every single year before the All Star break. I'm like, Keller's a really good mid rotation arm, and then after the All Star break, I'm like, are they going to DFA Mitch Keller? It's just the same conversation every single year. But Keller, like, it does get me excited with Skeens, Bubba, Jones up top, and I do think it goes in that order. I
Mhm.
think that in a year we're looking at Bubba Chandler as being better than
Yep.
Jared Jones.
Yep.
Just because,
100%.
like you mentioned, there's more layers to Bubba Chandler than there are Jared Jones. So if it goes Skeens, Bubba Jones, and then you got Keller as the 4, I don't care if Haney's making that fifth start. I
I
don't
don't
care
care
if
if I'm
Falter's
making the
making.
fifth start. That's
It's
a good
fine.
rotation.
Yeah,
Like,
you're putting your best foot forward 4 days a week, or 4 out of 5 turns, which is just great. Couple
last
more
thing.
arm. Yeah,
Sorry, last thing real quick, because I just know you love this stat. Opponents are hitting 077 against his fastball so far
yeah.
this year.
I mean, come on, man. It's like just don't throw anything else. That's the one that's going to stress out your arm the least, which is just awesome. But all right, couple more arms here before we wrap. Charlie Soto, the Minnesota Twins. This guy with high A Cedar Rapids has made 2 starts. 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs. He struck out 5, and then 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and he struck out 6. Opponents are hitting 107 against him. Is that, yeah, that's 3 for 28 with 11 strikeouts in 9 innings, and he has yet to allow a run through 2 starts. The stuff is real, real, and obviously he was good out of the draft. He struggled a bit in his first taste of low A baseball. But this is the Charlie Soto that everybody saw in the draft, I think.
I think it's what they imagined could be developed. And look, you can knock the Twins for a lot of things. You can't knock them for pitching development over the last couple years, and
Hmm.
it's tangible here. I think you looked at a converted shortstop who's a superb athlete, 6'3", 210, and one of the younger guys in the class. Say, wow, this is a really fun template to work with here. And especially for an organization that usually pursues pitchability guys, was like, it's a nice little shakeup. I am just floored. One, he got better. We talked about it when we discussed the twin system, and it was something that stood out to me when I kind of dove deeper into his season last year. Was he got better and better as the season progressed, and we saw him finish really strong. But beyond that, I just really started to admire the feel for the changeup. That looks like when we did that episode, I said, and when he cracked the top 100 list for us, like, this could be one of the best changeups in the minor leagues sooner rather than later. What I did not expect, and that one of the things that we did say is a drawback for him, is the dead zone aspect of his fastball. Where
Hmm.
last year, he has the four seamer and the two seamer, but they both hovered right around the dead zone. So like it was like 13 and 11, or like 14 and 11 on the four seamer, like 14 vert and 11 horizontal, and then it was like 9 vert and 13 horizontal on the two seamer. So it's not fully dead zone, but there's not a huge amount of separation there. Now his fastball, he has a four seamer getting 17 inches of vert from a much flatter angle, and then he's got a two seamer that's getting another 2 inches of horizontal. It's more the four seamer that stands out to me. It's like, okay, now you're getting like 4 more inches of vert. That's going to really help that changeup as well. And then he's throwing a cutter and a slider. He clearly overhauled the arsenal a good bit, and we had talked about like this. I wanted to see him lean into that cutter more that everyone in the Twins organization seems to be throwing, and he is.
Yeah.
Beyond all that, he's throwing harder. So
Yeah.
whatever adjustment they made with his release, they helped him find a point where I think it's much more natural. Through his first two starts, he's averaging 98 miles per hour with the fastball. Last year, he averaged 95.7. If he
And there's a
holds that
huge
with
difference.
with improved vert as well, like this guy could be a monster. I'm really pissed I didn't put him in the breakout candidates for this year. This is one of the arms of the lower levels I'm buying all the stock in. He is going to have a huge year if he stays healthy.
What you got on Clemmey then? If you're buying all the stock in if Charlie Soto, Alex Clemmey is, I will. The reason I put him on the rundown, the Washington Nationals lefty pitching prospect, 3 innings, 1 hit. He walked five his first time out. Last time out though, 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. Nobody hits what he throws. It's just Mizorowski, but maybe worse command. How does that work?
I don't know. We watched him together. What did you come away feeling from? Like, what do you think that line was? You threw 3 innings, by the way. I don't know if you have it in front of you. I hope you don't.
I don't. That spring breakout line?
Yeah. What did you think the spring breakout line was?
I don't know. I thought it was three perfect with 11 strikeouts. Is that possible? Like, no. I mean, it was 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks,
How many Ks?
five.
It was 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 Ks.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting there like, holy shit. And then he had a couple ABs where it was like, where is this thing going? And then he locked back in again. So like, part of me is like, okay, is this guy a starter, or do you just fast track him to this like Tanner Scott type of role? Clearly, you need to give him all the runway as a starter now, just because of
Yes.
the start to this season, where it's like, okay, this is different. He's going to have his blow up high walk starts, but he's going to have these dominant starts where if you're going 5 innings and you're punching out 10 and walking two, like I want to see you start the whole year. If you show me one of those at
Yeah.
19 years old and you're 6'6", I want to see you keep going. So the thing that is giving me a little bit of hope, Jack, is he's throwing a sinker now too. And he wasn't really throwing that before. And that sinker could really help mask the walk rate or just
Hmm.
mitigate it. Because you don't need to strike everybody out. The more pitches you throw per at bat, the more likely you're going to throw balls if you're a guy that walks a lot of guys.
Sure.
So if you can get early contact, some ABs, and just get guys to ground out, it's going to help your pitch count. It's going to help you mitigate the walks. And then when you need a K, yeah, dial it up, go for the K. But
Yeah.
I do think that's going to help him a ton. And 68% strike rate so far this year on the sinker. Everything else is lagging behind a little bit. But it seems like that could kind of also just be his get out of jail free card. Oh, I'm behind 3-1. Okay, I'll just throw a sinker down the middle and hope it darts away and get a guy to roll over. Will that work at the highest level? No, but
Probably not.
it'll help him get there. And by
Yeah.
then, you hope that he's 21, 22. He's in a much better spot. I'm a lot more optimistic. If you asked me at the end of last year, I would have said this guy's a reliever. It is like a elevated. Someone mentioned this in Discord, like an elevated DJ Hers.
Oh, there we go. I like that one. Wait, so Clemmey came up in the Discord as well?
Yes, he did in the live
That's
stream also,
amazing.
which is
God,
crazy.
I love our audience, man.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
They're on
Uh,
it.
yeah, and listen, I said this about who Mackenzie Gore, I think, and then about Casey Meidroth. You're never wrong. You're just early. So I
Yep.
was never
Yep.
wrong on Clemmey. I'm just early here. Two more guys, real quick. Ben Hess, the New York Yankees, first round pick out of Alabama last year. Hess, this was his pro debut, was it not?
Yeah. Yep.
April 9th against Brooklyn. 4 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. Ben Hess 70 pitches, 51 for strikes against a Brooklyn lineup that had Boston Barrow in there, Eli Serrano, I want to say. Like it was a decent Brooklyn lineup, but Hess shoved in his pro debut.
If people are watching on YouTube, it's just on my face. Like full disclosure, I did not look at the data before this episode. Um, Crazy numbers
Crazy.
on the TrackMan. Four-seamer. If it's a one-game sample, we'll see as we continue to go here. 5'6" release height. Remember, 5'9" is the average release height.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stock, just to always compare. 5'9" release height, 16.5 inches of vert, roughly. The higher the release height, the higher the vert, naturally. The lower the release height, the lower the vert. 5'6" release height here. 21 inches of vert on his 17 heaters.
Good.
That's elite. Anytime the Yankees take an arm like this and they get some time and then he makes his debut, this seems to happen. They have this really amazing ability to like put these guys on on the Rapsodo machine before they even make their debut in this pitching program and develop guys. And I mean, they were clearly very excited about Hess. I mean, when you got a fastball with that kind of vert, and then he's got this two-plane, disgusting breaking ball that got 16 vert and 18 horizontal, like, holy crap. And then a slider as well. This guy might be gross. Oh, my gosh, the changeup got 20 horizontal?
There you go.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to need to be watching this guy's next start. Wow.
There we go. Yeah, Ben Hess, really good pro debut against Brooklyn for Hudson Valley.
I would expect that.
He should start in the next few days.
Yeah, he should throw what? In tomorrow, probably.
Probably tomorrow. Yeah, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I have no idea. But yeah, Ben Hess, that was the pro debut. And then let's wrap with the arm that nobody knows, Liomar Martinez, a Marlin in low A. You texted me about this guy, and then I saw a couple tweets about this guy. Fish on First tweeted about him. Liomar Martinez, 7 2/3 innings with low A Jupiter. Both have been long relief outings. 7 2/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 17 strikeouts. So he's gotten 23 outs, and 17 of them have been punch outs. Last time out, 4 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and 9 Ks. Opponents are 1 for 23 against him.
I watched his last outing. He was just toying with dudes. So he's going to need a third pitch. He's 19, so it's fine. The changeup's a work in progress. But the fastball, so he was throwing last year.
It's like sinker curveballs. Is that right?
It's a four-seamer that, for whatever reason, gets registered in the system as a sinker. But it's 17 and 14. So like it's getting run and ride from like a really low release height. So that's why to me it's more of a four-seamer. It's riding to me. But he was throwing last year 91. He averaged 91 miles per hour on the fastball. This year he's averaging 94. And then the curveball, that thing is sharp and nasty, and he has a much more consistent feel for it. But that fastball getting run and ride, it's a 5.3 release height, and it's getting 17 vert and 14 horizontal. So it's just absolutely running and riding on right-handed hitters or up and away from lefties. And he was overwhelming hitters with that. I watch him go, good morning, good afternoon, good night with 3 fastballs. Then the very next batter, he goes, good morning, good afternoon, good night with 3 breaking balls. So for the command to get that much better that quickly, to have that kind of action on the breaking balls. And so far through those two starts, he's landed the curveball for a strike at a 68% clip. This is probably the breakout guy in the Marlins system this year. And I mean, when you see the 2 to 3 uptick, mile per hour uptick in velocity, and then you also have the improved command, and he's got the moxie on the mound. It was really fun to watch these starts. I don't think he's going to be in low A very long. Hopefully, I'll be able to go see him, before he gets promoted to Beloit. I don't think it'll be long before the Marlins send him to Beloit.
So there are 3 word like mantras for the hitters and the pitchers in the Marlins organization. The hitters, the 3 word mantra is hit strikes hard. So don't swing at balls, hit strikes pretty hard. The pitcher mantra is throw nasty strikes. And Liomar Martinez is throwing nasty
Throwing
strikes.
nasty strikes for sure. That's it, right?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, we will have Ray's top prospects for you later this week. Of course, that is as loaded as it gets. I've struggled as much as ever trying to figure out 13 to 15 because there's about 10 candidates that are all good enough to be in the 13 to 15 range. So super deep, really fun farm. Very excited to talk about that later in the week. Any final thoughts, Jack?
I don't think so. This is always fun. Just check on who's killing in the minor leagues. And we're going to do this, I think, pretty much every week. And then I think the pattern we want to get into is every other week is going to be a team top list. So the Rays this week, and then next week, we want to do like a college baseball check in. I think Tyler Jennings is going to join you next
Yep.
week. And then after that, we go with the team on Friday.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're excited to start to dip our toes into the draft side of things as well. So it'll be fun
You,
to
not me. I'm not touching that.
yeah, no, we'll be
No
talking
chance.
about that with Tyler Jennings, catching up there, but it'll be fun to continue to finish up these team top prospect lists and check in with you. We'll be mixing in some player interviews here and there for 3 episode weeks as well. As always, thank you for listening. Look forward to talking prospects with you later this week.